I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're speaking with Lynn Podrat. She is an author whose heartfelt narrative intertwines the threads of family dynamics, personal discovery, and human resilience. Her memoir, Listen to Me, showcases her tenacious journey to protect her younger brother with Down syndrome while navigating the intricacies of her evolving family, underlining the power of love and unity. We're delighted to have Lynn join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the folks at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her in the spotlight today, and we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel. Lynn, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Well, Logan, thank you for having me. It's very special to be able to give those with special needs a voice.
Absolutely. And it's really a mystery to a lot of people. I have a friend who's adopted 3 or 4 children with Down syndrome. The children always seem like they're filled with joy, they're filled with love, they're filled with happiness, they're filled with a spirit that you don't see in quote unquote average or normal people. So I think you demystifying Down syndrome is really, really important. And I guess that's one of your goals here, right?
Well, yes. One of the goals, really, to be perfectly honest, was to make sure that my brother was not forgotten.
Hmm.
Because you're right, we tend to be filled with fear of the unknown. I mean, that's just human nature. There's nothing wrong with it. That's all animals have that kind of fear, and we're no different. It's self-preservation. But then, animals don't reason, and we do. And then, but we don't.
Yeah.
So what turned out originally of a goal to just tell a story so that a memory is formed turned out to understand, yes, how to demystify not just Down syndrome, how to demystify anyone that is of special needs, or if not special, learns differently. And I
Yeah.
love the way you describe them, of the loving and the joy and the warmth and the ease, because that's what people don't understand unless they know.
Yeah.
But you're right, they're easy people.
Absolutely.
Please.
Bruce had a profound impact on your life. Tell the audience about how he literally saved your life, right?
So I have to tell you, I grew up. I loved animals. I saved a pigeon when I was like 2.5, 3 years old down
Mhm.
the shore, and that pigeon left me. Oh no! Because of course he survived. I used to walk that pigeon on Atlantic City's boardwalk on a leash with
Wow.
my grandfather, and he left. And my grandfather convinced me that my love and my care enabled that animal to survive and then do what it needed to do to be free. And so, I was always happy to be the voice of animals, and that was my love of animals. And then, that would have been fine. I wanted to be a veterinarian, and veterinarians are marvelous people. I'm a dog trainer,
Mhm.
we're marvelous people. But then Brucey came along, and what I wouldn't do for me, or who I wouldn't speak up for, is a different voice when you're defending somebody else. And I found mine. And it wasn't just to defend him, it was to be the voice of those that didn't have a voice. So I was still a voice of those that didn't have a voice. I just changed from the 4-legged to the 2-legged. And defending them afforded me now the courage. The heart was always there, the brain was always there, but the voice wasn't always there. I
Right.
thought the anger if I saw an injustice, but him being a part of me, the voice now came out, and it worked for me as well. It worked for me through high school, through college. When I went to high school back in the day, and obviously I'm giving away my age, but when I went to high school, my high school had a marvelous space program.
Hmm.
And back in 1972, girls could not be astronauts, and we didn't have Title IX yet. But I went to Washington and I spoke my voice. I was enraged because I was just as athletic as those boys, if not more so. I could outrun them.
Mhm.
I could outdo push-ups them. I could outswim them, but I couldn't be an astronaut. And so I was there. I never would have done that. I would have just seethed inwardly. But then, you know, I had the courage now to go and fight for what I knew wasn't right, and it wasn't just for me. And then there was college, and people used to say it was, my nickname, even when I was helping brand new teachers in education, was my principals used to say, she's like a bulldog. There's no way we can listen to those people that need us. She's just not going to tolerate that. And that was where he saved me, that took me out of, now, I still work with dogs, I train them, but now I worked with people, and I worked with people that didn't have a voice, mine included. And that afforded me an amazing leadership role. I mean, if I think about the 30 years that I spent in education, and that doesn't even include my tutoring after retiring, thousands and thousands and thousands of students, and then teachers who went on because I fought for them. And it's a major, major accomplishment.
Yeah.
And, we talk about a legacy. That's the legacy. And
Yeah.
that's what he afforded me, that legacy.
Absolutely. To be tenacious, to be a fighter, to be a bulldog, because sometimes it takes a bulldog,
Oh,
to get things done, to change people's minds, to change people's
yeah.
attitudes. It
Mhm.
takes somebody who is very, very strong. Tell us a little bit about your life with Bruce and his role in the family and growing up you grew up in Pennsylvania, I understand, right?
Philadelphia.
Yep.
Philadelphia. So, to really consolidate, Brucey, we were excited. I was going to be 13 years old. My middle brother, David, was going to be 9 years old. And we were very excited that we were having another baby, that my parents at that age were going to have a third child. And it was cool and it was great, blah, blah, blah. And, my mother picked out names, and I hated the girls' names. So I secretly was praying for a boy. But, Brucey came, and it was very exciting. But something I knew instinctively, something was wrong. And then, because my father came home and acted funny,
Hmm.
not just different, not just a weird nuance, because, we were older at this point. So we weren't like a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old having a baby. We were older kids to understand. And David didn't get it. He just wasn't that kind of personality. But, bottom line was that he told my grandparents, and I happened to be awake, and I overheard, understanding. And back then, Down syndrome was called mongoloid. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't okay.
Yeah.
So they weren't going to keep him. They
Hmm.
they were not. They could not deal with that by this time in their lives. And that was the norm back then. It was a shame. It was a
Hmm.
disgrace. It was an insult. It was embarrassing. Children were put in institutions, and they didn't tell my brother and I together that Bruce wasn't coming home. They brought my brother in first and then brought me in. And then they told me, and I went to my encyclopedia and I looked up the institute that they were going to put him in. It was a
Hmm.
disgrace. And those pictures haunt me today.
Wow.
That was 53 years ago. Haunt me
Right.
today. I walked over and said, I wouldn't put a dog there.
Right.
I'm not putting my brother there. He's a baby.
Yeah.
I called my grandmother and I said, we're coming to stay with you. And she was wonderful. She rallied the rest of the grandparents, and they stepped up. They came and they babysat and they helped. And so, life kind of went on. We went back to school. We were involved in we had junior prom, we had bar mitzvahs, we had whatever.
Hmm.
But I went away to college because that's, really what I needed to do to survive for me. And
Hmm.
I came home. I went, let's see, he was 5. He was going to be 5 years old that August. And I came home on a visit, maybe August, September. No one was there. And I called my aunt and she said, yeah, they put him in a group home.
Hmm.
Nothing wrong with group homes. That was the savior of the institutions. It
Hmm.
was a brilliant, brilliant development.
Hmm.
Ken Crest in Philadelphia. He was very young, but I got it. I got it. I left. There was no more bulldog,
Hmm.
and the goal was they were going to find a way that they were going to still have him in their lives, but he wasn't going to be theirs full time. And I realized that I had to respect that. I wasn't a parent. I was a
Right.
child still. I might have been 17, but I wasn't the parent.
Yeah.
And I didn't appreciate the fear and the insecurity of raising a child that was going to have challenges throughout their lives.
Right.
I have to respect that today. I had to respect that. It wasn't my fight anymore.
Yeah.
But I got it. And that I think became what was going to happen eventually over life of making sure he was remembered, because now things would happen. He wasn't there. We had to make plans to pick him up, plans
Mm.
to include him. And I watched that happen with joy
Mm.
initially and then fade. And that was not okay. That wasn't, it didn't matter. I was away at college. My brother David was great, but he didn't drive yet. But over those years, it was making sure Bruce would be included. And
Mm.
when he was included, it was a lot of fun. You know, our friends in high school loved babysitting for him. When I went away to college, my friends missed him. They didn't miss me. They missed having him around. You know,
Right.
he was a joy to be with. He was funny. He was entertaining. He kept them laughing. He was sweet. He was kind. And so anybody that knew us knew Brucey. I went
Right.
away to college, they knew Brucey. David went away to college, they knew Brucey. Through our whole lives, anyone that knew us knew about my brother.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, he was included in everything, and that was the evolution of life. And you know, I didn't go into education initially. I went to work for retail and fashion design. That was my major. You know,
Mm.
my original major was abnormal child psychology in college. And those are the only courses I took. I wouldn't
Yeah.
take any other classes. And I finally got put on probation because somebody woke up and smelled the coffee and realized that I was not flourishing. I was I was flying with those psych classes, but I wasn't doing anything else.
Right.
And so you know, and my parents had their own issues with financial aid. And so I was declared legally independent at 18. Back there, we went to the state. And so I could register and do my own thing. And I had to change my major. So I minored in psychology, but I went into fashion and design. And then I went into education once I became a mom.
Mm.
And I became a single parent, and my son was going to school, and I wasn't happy with what I saw, is when I went into education myself, and the rest is history. And
Yeah.
again, university was always included in everything. My children understood that he was different. It didn't matter. My
Mm.
son and he had the best conversations, my daughter, everybody. And so and he contributed to all their lives. My nieces, you know, he loved those children. They were his children. He would talk about
Mm.
my kids, not my kids. And he would brag about his kids. He wanted to learn soccer because his kids played soccer.
Yeah.
His kids rode a bike. All of a sudden, he was going to ride a bike too. He didn't. He was just too big for me to be able to teach. It was never accomplished. So that is the evolution of life with
Yeah.
him through our times, minus my parents, who,
Yeah.
as good as they were, never got the joy that he brought. It was still a fear. They
Yeah.
saw what he couldn't do, and we all saw what he was able to do.
Right.
And that's the difference. It's a different
Yeah.
kind of joy.
And also, it's a generational thing. Your parents are older.
Yes. Yes.
They feel that they're responsible for the
Yes.
children. They
It was
probably,
guilt.
on some level, viewed this as a failure because he wasn't quote unquote normal.
Correct.
So there's lots of layers there that people suffer through. And there certainly wasn't the awareness or the understanding or the
No, correct.
compassion that there is today,
Correct.
that parents have, because parents are different.
Yes.
Generationally, you're a different parent than your parents are,
Yes.
simply because of, our environment and what we were taught. Tell me a little bit about writing this memoir. Did you learn any new aspects of yourself or your family that you hadn't really considered before?
You know, that is such a good question. I didn't think I was going to, but I did. I did. I worked very hard to make sure that the voice of this story was never filled with resentment. I never resented my parents. I didn't like what they did. At 13, I was angry, but like what 13-year-old is, what adolescent is not angry through life? You
Right.
know, like who doesn't? I
If
mean,
you're not mad
really,
at your dad, you're
having
not
had
normal.
two of my own, I get it. And there was
Yeah.
nothing for them to be angry about because they just created it. But
Right.
there was never resentment from either any of us. And I worked so hard because I learned that I never resented them.
Mm.
I felt bad. My heart hurt for them. And that's what came out. I couldn't voice it back then because I was fighting so hard for him, but I
Mm.
realized it now that my heart hurt for them. They never appreciated what they lost because of everything you said. And you're absolutely right. Yeah. So I realized that, I never really told anybody the story. My husband knew the story, basically. My first husband knew the story. Most of my friends knew of my commitment, but they weren't sure why. And my children didn't know. And my grandchildren obviously didn't know. And so when he was first diagnosed with the pancreatic cancer that finally, did him in, is when I realized that that's a question that everyone will always have, is as devoted as I am to my family, and I will move heaven and earth for anybody that I love. This was very different. They saw something very, very different, of which they admired, but they didn't understand what they were admiring. Yeah. And so now it was the time to tell the story. And I don't write to be cathartic. I write if it's an issue. I write if poetry moves me. I love doing any of that. I will write on any issue you give me if my heart is stirred, but I don't write to be cathartic. I don't journal. But this was a story that needed to be told. And once he was diagnosed is when I realized all these memories I didn't realize I had, and things that I didn't know because he was in the group home and he wasn't with us all the time. So calling people and hearing other stories, I got to see a different side of him than even I knew. And that was a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun. So I learned more about him. Yeah. I learned more about me. I learned about family. I learned that I was no longer angry. I had more compassion than I ever had for my parents. And I think I had evolved a little bit, and they saw some of that, but not until after, and they were already gone by the time, I didn't write the story. I would have never written the story if they were still alive, because as much as I worked at not sounding resentful, I think parts of it would have made them upset, not hurt so much, but upset. And I wouldn't do that to them, because that was not the voice of the story. That was not the intent of the story. So, but I did learn a lot, and I learned a lot about the fact that I did have endurance to sit in front of my computer for 2 hours and write 2,000 words a day that somebody would have said to me, "You can do this." I would have said, "What are you, crazy? I'm going for a hike. I'm not doing that." But I did, because it was important.
Exactly. It is important. The name of the book is Listen to Me. It is Lynn Podrat's story of growing up with her brother, Bruce, who was different than other kids, but he was a lot like other kids as well. And he profoundly shaped her life. We're delighted to have Lynn join us here today on Spotlight. Lynn, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you, Logan. Thank you for the audience for participating. It has been a pleasure meeting you and working with everybody else at Atticus.
I appreciate it. Real pleasure meeting you as well. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time, this time until next time on Spotlight.